Lads, we're here. How are you guys? Daniel, you good?
I'm good. Just, a lot of election coverage stuff today, Anyone listening, if you hear this before 9:30 p.m. today, please remember to vote.
Yeah, exactly. Alex, how are you?
Not too bad. Still ready to talk about hockey. Feels like it's been a while.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, not bad. How was yours?
Not bad. Here
Do
and
anything
there.
fun?
No,
Um,
nothing fun.
so I went to an alumni event,
Like what?
even
Like
though
what or-
I have been an alum. I've been an alumnus for 2 months. Less
Oh,
than 2 months.
oh yeah. Because you graduated.
You're not
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not a
No
student.
offense, but how do you see you and Laura are both you, Will, Laura, Christo, alumni? That's so
I
strange
know.
to say. Normally, you think of alumni, it's like Dangle's an alumni because he's been gone for out of Ryerson
So
for so
long.
long.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's like 30 now, isn't
I
he?
don't know why I was gonna say Dan Berlin for some reason.
Yeah,
Like he's also
great
an
prof,
alumnus.
great prof.
Yes.
I mean, it's surprising how many professors we have that like maybe it's common, but like how many actually didn't go to Ryerson.
Yeah.
I want to say, didn't Sally Goldberg Powell, like one of our first lectures, say, I'm from Like, I went to
Yeah.
Carleton, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
sure she got
yeah.
booed.
People got
Yeah,
booed. People
think
booed.
it was like, why would you start the class with that?
I have a fun fact about
God.
Sally. I hope she's well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hell
happened to actually this week. For some reason, I'm getting so you know how I used to be a TA for her class.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm getting emails from first year students this year, and they said they need help. Remember that scavenger hunt we did?
Refresh my memory?
Sure.
There's like some activity we had to do with scavenger hunt, and you have to contact your TA to help them with it. And then I had to tell these students that I haven't been like a TA for that class for like over a year.
Wasn't it the 103 lab? And like you had, it was a lab wide thing. And like, I
Yeah.
remember, was that the one where
Yes.
me and you went to the library, Daniel, because we had to get a picture of Ivar Sapiro's book or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Wow. What? That's like a time thing. Why did they take the time to email? That's weird. That's
No,
really
the thing
weird.
is, I'm not a TA on the syllabus anymore. I don't know how.
They just were like,
I don't know
"Man,
how I'm
I
getting
got
emails
Dan."
for this.
I guess you've left an impression.
I'm,
You did a good job. All right, Anyway, hockey's a thing. We're here to talk about hockey on the eve of the Ontario federal election. Yeah, again, vote.
Yeah.
I mean, again, by the time you hear this,
It
I
might
think
be too
depending, it might be close. I mean, the audio normally goes out really, really quickly,
Mhm.
and yeah.
late.
So
What time does the
people,
polls close?
9:30.
Oh, okay.
so do it. I mean, honestly, Okay, so we're gonna have a good show today. I think it's gonna be a fun show. I've got
try.
a surprise for the guys. I'm gonna show them a little later, which I'm really excited to look at.
For the
But
four of
there's
us.
Hmm?
For the four of us.
yeah, is the panda? Oh no, the
No.
panda's like over there in my
Oh,
room.
okay, yeah.
Oh.
They
I
don't
can't
feel
go
they're,
get
they're camera shy today.
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
Exactly.
A lot's been going on around the league, though. But today we're going to look at some signings, both executive wise and player wise. Evander Kane's interview with ESPN, we're going to talk about. Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly talked to 31 Thoughts on Media Day. That'll be fun. And we're going to project some rosters for the Leafs and the Habs, as well as sort of tidbit, like new stuff around them. To start, though, guys, Tyler Bozak is going back to St. Louis for 1 year. It's a $750,000 deal. There's the over 35 stuff in there, details. Daniel, you made it very clear in one of our many group chats. I remember which one that you wanted to talk about this signing. So the floor is yours.
I don't know. I love the guy. I remember when we were talking about center depth that wouldn't it be great if he came back to Toronto? But I understand the whole family situation and, the quote unquote winning culture right now with St. Louis. I guess he just wants to stick around, and it's a nice, sweet story for what the Blues have been able to do despite the many side stories of what's going on, not in terms of like huge controversies, but in terms of performance. So good signing. He's always going to be loved by us.
Fair enough. Yeah. We definitely, I'm sure right now he's probably got this thing of like, I could move somewhere else for Leagueman, but like, he's been in St. Louis for how long has it been? 3-4 years, probably.
I think this is going to be,
His fourth. This will be
fourth
his
year.
fourth.
Yeah. He signed a 3-year deal.
That was a lot of money too. But hey, they
Yeah.
won the cup.
That was
who
John
cares?
Tavares' money. I remember that.
Yes. That's what the argument was.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I wonder who I'd rather have, John Tavares or JVR and Tyler Bozak.
Wasn't there also a thing like Patrick Marlow took William Nylander's money or something?
That probably did go around. Yes.
Yeah.
And then now people are saying Mitch Marner took Morgan Riley's extension money.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how that works, but you know what? I'll let them have it. I'll let them have that.
Plenty of time, plenty of runway in the season to talk about that.
I know.
Quietly, by the way, in St. Louis, Robert Thomas still not signed. That's been very, very quiet. I've noticed.
I don't know if we're gonna do this again because I think we said we would, but there are some good UFAs still not signed.
Oh, there's a certain defenseman that I kind of wish Montreal would do anything with. Instead, Cody. How do you even say that name? Golobeck? Keith?
You're supposed to I think with a French accent. I think I don't remember. I remember just from the World Juniors.
He's not even French.
He's from
Oakville. Southern Ontario.
He's from Oakville.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I gotta defend him in a certain extent
because World Junior guy,
World Junior legend, also Olympic bronze medalist legend.
Sammy Vatanen is right there. Also, I've been screaming of Vatanen for a year now, right?
Correct.
I think it started in free agency. There was an article I was reading saying the Habs should give Vatanen a PTO. Because today I saw people saying Vatanen. I'm like, hold on a minute. And there was an article about it. It may have been from like SB Nation. I was like, I've been on this for a year. How dare people go on this now? Anyway, Chris Weidman's around though, guys. So
I'm gonna laugh if he goes back to New Jersey.
I'll actually throw something in the wall. Like I'll there will be holes in my bedroom wall if he ends up somewhere, like just randomly. He's a safe bet to make. Not just by the way UFAs, Alex, but there's still a lot of RFAs out there. But we can take one off the list happily. Kyler Yamamoto, Edmonton get their last RFA signed. It's a 1-year deal, $1.1 million spare change after that. I feel like this is probably the only realistic outcome with this contract, with Edmonton having no cap space anymore. And you do kind of wonder if Yamamoto was one of those guys that kind of saw he didn't want to end up playing catch up if he misses any of camp. And it'll be interesting to see whatever his next contract looks like.
Yeah, and he's turned out to be a pretty decent player. Like the first year he had 17 games, he had 2 points. But if you look after that, 26 points in 27 games when he came up later in that shortened season, and then 21 points in 52 games this year. Like there's improvements that need to be made, obviously, but one of the downfalls of Edmonton the last couple of years have been their lack of winger depth. So when you can get a guy who's 22 years old and has a future, I'm more than okay with this contract. He's
a feisty player too. Like that's a guy where you're like, anyone would love to have him on the team. It's a funny one, Yamamoto. Yes. Good that they got it done. You do wonder, what does that do in the long term? Like, how did this contract go? Like does he look back and kind of see, you had all this money, right? And you kind of threw it around. Like you took away some of the money when you got Duncan Keith. Then you signed Darnell. Like you understand, like guys like Dylan Nurse are a priority, even to an extent, Tyson Barrie. But then like CC stuff and that, you're like, you left me the last here. You know, you can do that with RFAs, but it's a question. The Kotkaniemi stuff has me questioning every RFA relationship right now.
Yeah, I didn't like it either, but I don't know. It is more of a kind of, it's a prove me deal for him, and I'd like to see what he really becomes, because what Alex said in terms of winger depth, this was kind of a draft need, and I think he excelled. I think he excelled based on where he went in the draft and when he debuted, and I really think that they could just really find a place for him, because it is a weird balance, because like McDavid and Draisaitl are getting up there in terms of, they are in their prime, but they're not exactly like this is the time when you build to win, I think, with them. And I just want to know like what the patience would be in terms of a player like Kyler Yamamoto and what they view him as like moving forward.
Quickly, because Oh, the mic is having issues again.
It's okay. You're good.
It sounded
You're
like a
good. You're
dubstep
good.
remake.
Yeah, it did.
It's not a good sign when I hear one of you go, "Oh," and then I see your mic has been changed to Mac. That's not what it is.
No,
it's really
okay.
funny to think this is McDavid's 7th year already.
It's crazy. And they've been mediocre every year.
Yeah. And what's funny about Yamamoto, you mentioned that first real good stretch he had in the NHL, Alex. And I remember vividly that it was a stretch when he was playing with Nugent Hopkins. I think now that you wonder now, like in the long term of the season, once you split up Connor and Leon for now, which you can see is a lot more possible with Hyman probably playing on that top line. I don't see like the thing in putting Yamamoto and Hyman together in one line. So then maybe the possibility is a Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Yamamoto thing for the foreseeable future, or you'd probably rather Nuge on that top line with McDavid. I don't know, but there's options there. You just wonder if like with some of the additions they made up front, if you can like get some legit consistency in keeping your line mates together at the top of the lineup, right? Because normally you see those kind of problems with young centermen that you throw up and down the lineup, but with wingers, you're kind of privileged when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, who it doesn't matter who they play with.
Right.
Anyway.
It's incredible the amount of money McDavid has made for other players.
Already. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The Crosby effect.
Cassian.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Casting that deal to this day.
Chason.
No, what's really I love about this is like I love picking apart cap friendly, like we all do, right?
Yeah.
It's just hilarious that this offseason, it seems like Lou has caught on to it. So he started hiding, and people still have not. We talked about, I think we talked about this on the show with Mike, that Zach Parise on Cap Friendly, there is no number to do with his new contract with the Islanders. I don't even think the Islanders have confirmed it yet either, but it's like confirmed it's happening. So what's really funny is Zdeno Chara is going back to the team that drafted him, the New York Islanders, for a year, which is really funny. He was drafted in 1996. That's before I was born. So therefore, before Alex was born. Yeah. Daniel had just had his first child.
Yeah.
I don't know when you're born, Daniel, but I think we're cutting it close there with you and Chara. And then what's really funny is you're probably wondering, Adam, what's the AAV? We don't know. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Like I'm looking at Cap Friendly now. It's still just listed that he's around and there's no cap hit. Again,
in exchange for an IOU.
I mean, it's hilarious because it's not like the insiders are sleeping. Like Saravelli quote tweeted the stuff about Nolan Patrick last night.
Yeah,
they're around. It's just no one knows.
It's incredible that this is like, and I mean incredible in a good way. Like it's just insane how this continues to happen, and this isn't the first time that it's happened, right? I think it happened with Yzerman as well. There was a couple ones where we had to wait a few hours and then it kind of leaked. But then with Lou, it's like we've been waiting days, months. Remember, there's just a barrage of contracts that come out at once. The Comora or the Beauvillier in that one. And now we're here and they haven't even confirmed the Parise sign. Parise confirmed it.
Yeah. I feel like the only reason we know about Char is because he probably wanted to post something. Because didn't he post like one of his old Islanders jerseys?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yes, yeah.
Such a throwback.
I like to pose the question now that I put on the podcast.
Let's hear it.
Did the Ottawa Senators still fleece the New York Islanders if we look back on the 2001 trade?
So Yashin's part of that, right?
Yeah, it was Yashin in exchange for Chara, the pick that became Jason Spezza, and then Phil Muckett.
Why don't
Spezza? No, Bill Bucket. Bill Muckett.
Bill Muckelt.
Muckelt, yes.
Even if Yashin didn't work, which like Spezza was pretty important. Like they got a cut final appearance out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that stretch, what happens with the Islanders? I mean, like, let's be honest, since Tavares was from the time Tavares was drafted to the time eventually when he leaves and Lou comes in, they had won like one series. It was against like the Panthers, who at the time like were not great.
Yeah, it's not a lot happened.
So it's even. As much of a disaster as Yashin was, Jason Spezza is a pretty good player. right?
Yeah.
So I guess quickly, do you guys want to look at some of the other? I don't think I'm missing any more UFA or RFA stuff here. So do we just want to quickly have a look at who is still able to be signed?
Sure. Let's do that. Let's do that. I will pull it up. You want to start with RFAs or UFAs?
Oh,
UFAs?
UFAs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Tuukka Rask is still up in the air, right? Like the whole idea is that if he's going to sign, he's going to sign with Boston. And I think he's out technically until like December. Is that not?
Yeah, December,
Okay.
and then he's expected to maybe make a start in January.
So maybe we'll see that like one of those contracts, like the Justin Williams contract from 2 or 3 years ago now, where he kind of just came back in March, played in the playoffs, and then
When he felt like
sayonara. Other than that, like I'm just going through. There's still the Alex Galchenyuk UFA, mysterious. Who knows where he's going?
Just quickly. Can we talk about the fact that Tuukka Rask, his warm up for the season is probably going to be the Olympics if he can make it in time?
Oh,
Just hanging about with Finland.
he'd probably be the third starter, the third goalie.
Who are the other Finnish? Because just when I think
Pekka
of,
retired.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's whenever you think of Finland's goaling, it's goaltenders. Like it's Rene, and then whatever. Like who are the Finnish goaltenders anymore?
well,
Is Ukko Pekka
and Antti Ranta, Jonas Korpisalo, UC Saros, and this one's better. This is the best one. Mikko Koskinen.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
We forgot another guy.
Kevin Lankinen.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And Kaapo Kakkonen.
Yeah.
And Ukko Pekka Luukkonen.
I didn't know they were all Finnish.
Yeah.
I thought they were all Swedish.
Nope.
I don't know why I searched just Finnish NHL goalies, and then
That's what I searched
for
up.
some reason it just what pulled up was all-time wins. So I was about to say I'm going through this in the Picarine, Kari Lettinen.
I think Daniel and I went to the exact same page.
I didn't know Kari Lettinen was that high up in wins. Like he's like third all-time.
You know what I can't wait for?
What?
I can't wait for Minnesota to give Eric Stahl a PTO because he's still sitting there. I've just noticed.
Yeah.
What the Islanders also gave was it Eric Gustafson a PTO?
Yeah. Sorry, Adam.
I guess that can't be
coming back
confirmed.
to Montreal.
I don't mind.
He was the puck mover they needed.
Yeah, I mean,
The thing is, they can't confirm it, right? So he's still technically without a team.
sitting there.
It's just ridiculous.
Like Gusev's now, like he's got a PTO. Tyler Ennis, Bobby Ryan, I think could still be fair enough. He's still out there.
I wonder, like, there are some NHL caliber players who are still on this list. Not necessarily the ones who are up in age. Like, if you look at the top on Cap Friendly, a lot of them are guys in their mid to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you scroll down a little bit, there's still younger guys who are like, well, they need a spot, and I'm sure Europe would take them, but a lot of leagues in Europe have already started. Mm-hmm. So I wonder what happens with these guys.
I really wanted to see Bobby Ryan sign for the veteran minimum with like a team like Edmonton.
That wouldn't be awful. I mean,
like where he could be used like, in the top 9 somewhere and still be productive.
It would, I mean, you want to put him with McDavid almost for a second. Just, Brian still has a bit of the offensive punch, but like his skating is just kind of like, get someone with a bit of foot speed to play with Connor now, right? Also, Patrick Marlow. He's still there technically. Let's see if he goes back to San Jose or not. Maybe he'll go to Florida and meet up with Joe. We have 8 RFAs left. Kiefer Bellows, because cool. Robert Thomas from the Islanders, and Toli Golishev. I've never heard of him because I don't think he's ever played an NHL game, but he's sitting there. And then the big guys, Rasmus Dahlin. What's going on there? Why is that not done?
He doesn't want to go back.
Kirill Kaprizov, still waiting on that. Brady Tkachuk, and the Vancouver guys, Hughes and Pedersen. Still there.
Oh, you're not done?
No, sorry, as in the contracts are not done. Camp is almost here, guys. So get it done.
I just two things. One, why isn't the Rasmus Dahlin one done? Like, he's like one of the players, and I get he had a bad year. We've all acknowledged that, but why? Like, what's this hold up here? You have $1 bajillion in cap space. Like, if you're really fighting over pennies, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you're not signing him to an 8-year deal. That's clearly not what's happening here.
What's his value, I wonder, though?
What's his value?
That's the big question. Like, what does he think he's worth right now? Because whatever it is, it's not it, whatever if he thinks he's worth $3 million, I'm like, no, not yet. No, you've not been great, my friend. So I wonder if like what is the story there? Because of Jack Eichel, it's always been in the background there. This RFA story. It's weird.
Like, for me, looking at that, Dahlin specifically, my first thought was, I get he's a first overall pick, and there's something there to it, but take the 1 year, $1 million deal or whatever they're offering you at 1 year, prove yourself. And then you're gonna, like, it can't be worse than what Buffalo went through last year, because what they've done this summer, despite the Jack Eichel shenanigans, is they've traded and they're recouping assets in Sam Reinhart and Rasmus Ristolainen. So it really can't be worse, the story in Buffalo, than last year, because we're all expecting them to be really, really bad.
Yeah, just sign the qualifying offer, man, and just rebuild yourself, man. Rebuild it. Just no excuse on either side of the fence here.
Yeah,
like really that should not be done.
I didn't know the range of that. When you guys said $3 million, and I don't know why I felt like he was going to ask for $3 million. No, they were offering $3 million, but he would offer he wanted 4.5 or something over X amount of years or something, or it's like a
typical top 4 defenseman contract, right?
Yeah.
Gross. Okay. Before we go to all the sort of gobs around the rest of the league, let's talk about the teams we really care about. Toronto, Montreal. First off, Heritage Classic. It's happening. It's in Hamilton. It's going to be Buffalo. It's going to be Toronto. And I just do not care about an outdoor game that has Buffalo in it.
Why is it in March? Is it going to be are we going to have the problem again with the ice?
No, it's always cold.
Canadian winners. I trust it.
This isn't like putting a outdoor game in LA.
Wasn't Colorado was the last time where I think the paint attracted the sunlight, and then that's what melted everything.
It was brutal.
It was Lake Tahoe. It was then Vegas, and then I think it was Philly and Boston also had games there, or a game. Yeah, and it was just the sun murdered it.
Yeah.
Even though it looked so good, and everyone ripped it, and it was for once the league were trying. Stop it. And it was remember when it went to intermission or at pause, there was someone who had taken a penalty, and people were making jokes that this guy has been in the box for 6 hours.
Yes.
How undisciplined. And Tom Wilson isn't even here, guys. What's going on? Ridiculous.
So is it just me who doesn't understand why they don't make an outdoor game for Toronto and Montreal?
Guy, do you remember the one with Boston and Montreal? That was so hype. By the way, those jerseys were so sexy. I have not cared that much about an outdoor game since then. And I'm not just being biased here. The one that Toronto had against Detroit, you're like, okay, Toronto, but Detroit?
Wait, that one made sense to me because the top 6, but the one that didn't make sense to me was Toronto, Washington.
I mean, original 6, right?
Original 6.
Yeah,
but
yeah. There were markets if it's Washington, I'm like, okay, Ovi. If it's Pittsburgh, I'm like, Sid. But then remember the Dallas Nashville one or something, and you're like, who cares? And the most memorable thing out of that outdoor game, remember, was Corey Perry's walk of shame.
Yes.
I still love that that's still a gift. I still love that it lives on on Twitter.
The clown music with that is hilarious.
Or they put the Green Day song on top of it.
Yeah, oh my God, there was some great stuff. I'll tell you, obviously that was before he was a Hab, and I remember just laughing so much at Corey Perry. So I was funny thing. I was talking to Alex Baumgartner, and he's doing this thing at the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? And he texted me. He's like, "Yeah, so Corey Perry, his wife and his kid were at the Hall of Fame." And like naturally, I was like, "That's awesome." By the way, Corey Perry's kid, cutest kid ever, right? And he's like, the kid had like a little Tampa Bay jersey, and I just responded all caps, "Baby Perry, how could you?" Traitor. I'm so upset about that. I'm never gonna get. I miss him so much.
Wait, you're saying that Alex Baumgartner did not tell him that ducks fly together?
I don't know.
Oh my!
I don't think the kid would have understood the reference.
Oh my god! No, just an opportunity right
Daniel's
there.
upset. Daniel's upset. It's off the rails.
It's always got to be rough if like once you reach an age where you realize that like 30 different teams hated the way your parent played. Like, oh, you like I can't wait for whenever Corey Perry's kid is old enough to like, retain memories, is that he watches the clip with Marian Hossa when Corey Perry grabs onto Hossa's stick and won't let go, and Hossa lets go like, "You can have it," and then Perry just drops it. It's hilarious. Or
I
he's
always
like,
thought that about like Max Domi and Ty Domi. Like if he looks back on his dad's old games or all the incidents.
Well, considering he sucker putts Darren Ekblad in the preseason once, I think Max
watched a few of them.
definitely embraced it. Yeah.
Yes,
For
yes,
sure.
he has.
I laughed. I remember 2003 draft where every analyst like, this is not the Ty Domi you remember. Max is a completely different player. He relies on skill and he doesn't, ruffle the feathers or gets into the fights like his dad.
And punching people in the face.
Yeah. I mean, he saw the red mist. He a couple times. Yeah. Come on. But yeah, outdoor game, cool. It's just. By the way, a lot of people will probably be there because I think it was announced today that the Leafs are expecting full capacity.
That's
jumping the gun a bit, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's a quick transition here. I don't mean to go away from the Leafs and that, but the opportunities right here. 31 Thoughts had or 32 now. 32 Thoughts had an interview with Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly. By the way, I like Bill Daly because he just has a bit more fun with interviews where Bettman just won't get off his high horse sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me, but but in the interview, they asked specifically about Canadian capacities for stuff. Apparently, there's going to be partial capacity in Vancouver, Montreal. Montreal, I believe, is at 7.5K. Edmonton and Calgary and Winnipeg will have full arenas. Okay. Okay, Alberta, you do you. And I don't think there's been anything on Ottawa, but then seeing what's going on with Toronto, you can imagine that Ottawa won't be far behind.
I think Daly said, did he not say, because I also haven't seen anything confirmed by the government either, that it's not announced. Like, I think MLSE are planning for full capacity.
So it's a whisper.
Because even right now, the Blue Jays, technically, their capacity is 13,000, which I don't know what that is in terms of percentage. I'd have to guess that's somewhere around 33%.
Yeah.
So it's not confirmed. It's just a theory.
Mm-hmm. It'll be figured out like a current issue we have behind the scenes, but we are working on it.
I think for this, just what I like about it is that it's hopeful about how the world or this area is going to be like in March. So I'll take it like that.
Yeah. And also because of okay, and what's also kind of interesting is because of the way escrow is going, we all knew the cap was not going to be, if it did move, wasn't going to be much. And we have case in point here. Next season, the cap is expected to go up around $1 million. So that'll be okay. There's some room there, but yeah, it's gonna be escrow is not great.
Bill Guerin,
they still owe like
is
$1
ecstatic.
billion. Oh yeah.
Bill Guerin?
He must be ecstatic.
He's like, oh sweet, I can get a depth player now. Can't wait for it. It will really help. I love to see it.
The players still owe like $1 billion, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fun.
And we'll talk about it a little later, but also apparently the NHL within the coming days will have the report on what happened with Evander Kane about betting on his own games, and as well as there's no timetable with the Chicago situation. Later on, we will be talking about the Stan Bowman and the U.S. hockey stuff. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I think Don't worry about that. So yeah, we can just pause it there and just.
We'll be back.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're back. Technical difficulties, but
No, it's just the sequel.
It's just is it a 2-in-1 podcast?
It's just
Part 2, Electric
The second part.
Boogaloo. Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I was doing Lego Movie, but yeah, that one's good too.
I don't want to watch another one of those movies. Remember, like back when I was a kid, it was like there were Lego sets and there were the Lego video games.
Yeah.
And the line should have been drawn there.
Probably.
But no. By the way, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. At Gamescom, there was stuff about it. It looks like we're getting it in spring. So that if there's ever a Star Wars thing, it's like it's coming out in spring. It's going to be May the 4th. And I can't wait.
You know
I
what?
hope they put that really iconic scene at the end of episode 9. I really hope they put it in the video game. That really iconic scene.
You know what? They'll do it, but they'll make it funny.
They better make it funny.
There should be Battle of Geonosis though, the arena battle.
Oh, there will be 100%.
Yeah. They have to show every character though.
So it's like open world now, right? And like the map looked huge. Like they put a lot of stuff into this. Like it looks like it's gonna be great. Like I remember the last Lego Star Wars game. It didn't have General Grievous as a playable character. It was ridiculous.
He didn't sign to have his likeness shown in the game.
You did. He was insecure about being half cyborg thingy or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Also, going about the Leafs and Habs, Nikita Gusev has been given a PTO by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I was looking at his the J Fresh War stuff about him, and it was like, offensive ability, but he can't finish. And I was just like, God damn it! I was like, great! I can't wait for the Mikheyev comparisons for a year now. It's hilarious. But honestly, I mean, if there were guys you give a PTO to, like Gusev's a fine bet, by the way.
It is a fine bet. It's just a matter of I have no idea where to put him in the lineup.
And since you mentioned it, Alex, it is time for us to do our projected rosters for the Habs and the Leafs. So I don't know about you guys, but I kind of went a bit overboard and I did the Leafs and the Habs regular lineup and I did power play setups because I love looking at power plays. So
I didn't do power plays. I'm sorry, I just did regular lineups.
Didn't have to do power plays. Okay. I got really excited. I like looking at lines. So who would like to go first?
I think you should go first because you're so excited about it.
I'll take that responsibility. Okay, so, and in true Adam form, it's in an Excel sheet. So, ladies and gentlemen, first off, I will go with the Habs since they are at the top of the list. The first line, I have decided. Oh, by the way, we can't talk about it today because the interviews come out tonight. But both RDS and TVA Sports are doing an interview with Jonathan Druitt. So that will be cool. Get some more insight about what's been up with him. Some teasers have come out about it, but we'll wait until next episode to really get into that. The first line, I've decided to put Druin, Suzuki, and Caulfield. Honestly, you could have put most guys on the top line, but I think Druin's playmaking ability and it's very interesting. Since he had his wrist injury, his shot just hasn't quite been there. So put him with two guys that can shoot. The second line, Dvorak needs wingers that can carry the puck. Anderson loves doing that. Toffoli underratedly does it a lot. Like seems like every other shift, he's the guy carrying it through the neutral zone. The third line, Jake Evans is the centerman. Brendan Gallagher and Mike Hoffman are your third line guys. I just didn't know where to put them anywhere else. And here's what's so annoying. If the Habs had a better third line center, having Hoffman and Gallagher as your third line guys to pick apart other teams' third lines, I thought was like, that's gross. I love that. The defense, please do not do Sherratt and Savard. So I've gone first pairing is Petrie and Edmondson. Of course, it works. It's good. Second pairing, I've done David Savard and Alexander Romano to try and split up all the defensive people in the world and get a bit more offense. Romanov's expected to have a bigger role this year. And then Sherrod is there with Chris Weidman. I want more from Kulak. But this is just game one, how I think it's going to go. And then Price and Allen are your goalies. Extra guys are Kulak, Perreault. Paul Byron is orange because he's obviously hurt to start the year. Power play setup. I've gone like the sort of Washington, Tampa Winnipeg 1-3-1. Like, forget the umbrella or anything like that. Net front guys are Gallagher and Anderson for their respective units. Anderson is unit 1. Toffoli in the bumper. Petrie working the line. Suzuki on the right point. He's been there and scoring goals all year. And Caulfield on the left point, the OE spot, whatever you want to call it. Dvorak is in the second unit bumper, or he should be. Weidman is apparently going to be someone to help the power play, so he's working the second unit. Hoffman on his one-time side. Druin will be working the left side, like left half wallish area, just because I needed to get him on there, and he can feed Dvorak in a position where Dvorak can get a one-timer off from the slot. If he was right-handed, Dvorak's on the first pairing, because him and Suzuki can just give it up. Because Caulfield should be shooting, not the other way around, so get out of here. For the Leafs, I've decided to split Marner and Matthews up, because I'm so sick of this thing of like, oh, they should play together. No,
Madness.
No, we're splitting them up. Nylander and Matthews was good as it was. So there we go. Nylander is there back with Matthews. Now we don't have Hyman, so instead we're putting Michael Bunting, who I was very hard on, but I actually went and watched some tape of his, and I think he's perfect to put on that line. I was like, oh, this is a pretty good player. Second line is Tavares and Marner. I'm reuniting them, and I put Kerfoot up. I have a real issue. Like, I think the third line center move is coming for this team eventually, because I don't really like Spezza shouldn't be a full-time centerman, and David Kampf is, I think, better slated for like a fourth line role and getting all the PK time in the world. And Kerfoot deserves a top 6 chance, in my opinion, with how well he played in the playoffs. I think he's better used up there as opposed to a sort of like a third line role. You're going to notice there's a guy on the fourth line who should probably be using the top 6. I'll get to Robertson. Third line, Kampf, Ritchie, and Kasha. I know it's weird. Kasha is good if he's healthy. It's just sort of like, I was like, I want a defensive guy. I want a guy who can shoot, and I want the physical, beefy boy in Ritchie. And I don't really think this like point forward, Ritchie should be in the top 6. Fourth line, Spezza, Simmons. And again, this is day one. You start easing him in, is Nick Robertson. If he doesn't work, he goes back to the AHL. It's as simple as that. Because I do kind of question right off the thing having like an extra skill guy on any of the top 6 lines for now. Develop him. He's a young guy, an important piece. You be careful with him. Brody Riley on defense, Hall Muzzin, and then Sandy Dermott. Because I was like, who else? They need to sign like another defenseman, I think. Because after this, it's just like Liljegren. And I'm like, I don't trust you. Campbell Mrazek, obviously. The power play. Austin Matthews is not leaving the ice. Let's get this very clear. He's not. The second unit doesn't really matter. This is Washington now. They're going to get like 20 seconds. The first unit, Nylander is working the bumper. Tavares is net front because I think that's where he's at his best, to be honest with you. He's amazing there. Marner, right half wall, whatever. Riley doing his thing, working the point. Sandin is doing that on the second unit. Robertson is the sort of what I have Suzuki doing on the Habs one. He's the playmaking guy there. Get him a bit of chance on the power play. Spezza in the bumper, because I just didn't know who else to put there. And like, Spezza, cool. He had more points than Kerfoot last year, I think. And I was like, oh, cool. And then Matthews is just staying there, because why would he not stay there? Simple as that. Now you're going to notice I don't have Mikheyev in the lineup, because if I was Dubas, I'd get rid of him because he wanted to be here. Engvall's not there either because I don't trust him. I'm not a good GM because I would give up on guys too easily. I also have Adam Brooks there and Gabriel because I don't know what he is. And that's why 3 of them are orange, because I'm just so questioning these guys. And Engvall needs to learn to play well when his job is not on the goddamn line. So there you go.
That has to be one of the weirdest things, though, right? With Engvall, like that's not necessarily a normal trait that a player has. Is where when their job is on the line, that's when they perform like consistently. Like maybe that happens the first time, but when your job is on the line and you consistently perform, then it's just I've never seen that. So to me, it's just odd.
You know what he is?
He's the
university student.
Yes.
I'm
reaching my deadline here.
Yeah.
I forgot, by the way, net front of the second unit is Bunting. Really good there for Arizona. Sure. But no, it's just he's such a frustrating guy. He's like Antonio Giovinazzi in Formula One, where it's like your seat's in danger. Antonio.
That is
Make
actually
it
a
to
really
Q3.
good.
It's ridiculous. It's
We
like, I
haven't
want to like you, Antonio, but it sounds like he's lost his seat to Gang Yu Zhou. Is how you say it. But yeah, that's how Adam has it shaped up. By the way, something really interesting I noticed about the Habs is so you know how I've been complaining forever that they need a left-handed defenseman who can move the puck and work the power play?
Yeah.
I kind of realized a big problem with Montreal is a lot of prospects they have. I think they're pushing next year. I think of Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Matthias Norlinder, Josh Brook, even Caden Primo next year. I think like if you're being realistic and smart and patient, which Montreal need to learn to do after Jesperi Kotkaniemi and all that stuff, I think next year in around camp and preseason, they're going to be very interesting to look at. Anyway, yeah, that's
You didn't mention the captain though.
because they're not naming one.
No, the captain
What
prospect, the prospect captain.
Raphael Harvey-Pinard.
No,
Yeah.
you're missing
Yad
something.
Mishak.
Oh, that's not who I thought it was.
Is Mishak the captain? I thought it was Raphael.
No, captain of the Czechs, but that's how we referred to him before. Remember, we
Okay,
just kept calling him. Oh, yes, the captain.
I think he scored in one of their games the other, but it's the rookie tournament. It's hard to care. And yeah, Gianni Fairbrother is there too.
That's who I was gonna say. That's who I
Legend
was
right
gonna
there.
say.
I actually had him making the team. No, I'm kidding. I didn't.
No. In a few more years, maybe, but not.
We'll give
now.
him a fair shot.
Of course, cool name. Who would like to go next?
I don't mind. Let me share my screen here. Give me 1 second.
Just let you guys know, I don't have enough to make it look nice to share my screen.
That's okay. I just have the
No,
lines.
I'll do it quickly.
I don't have the lines, so like power play lines. So it's
I am an idiot.
why?
I forgot my fourth line, which is basically the same as Alex's, except
Oh, okay.
Paling makes the team later in the year. Sorry, I
okay.
forgot to mention half my lineup there. Go ahead, Alex.
So first line. So this is what I went with. I went with the playmaking, power forward, scorer lines, just because it works in EA. So it's got to work in real life.
I love it.
No, it's just a good combination of players. So I have Caulfield, Suzuki, Gallagher. Quite obvious who is who there. Anderson, Dvorak, Toffoli, Hoffman, Evans, Drouin, Lehkonen, Paling, Armia. Like, I guess Paling can also be either Cedric Paquette or Matthew Perreault, depending on whoever the extra is. Like, I just think you give Paling that shot if you really want to use him. Mm-hmm. Then defense-wise, I don't know why I wrote Petrie first, but obviously it's switched. It's Edmondson, Petrie. It's worked. Got to try it again. Romanov, Savard, because that to me is just the obvious one. And then Sherratt, Kulak. And I guess Weidman is my extra. And then Price and Allen.
Mm-hmm. I love the respect for Brett Kulak, by the way.
I mean, yeah, like I just, I don't know much about Chris Weidman except he was in an Uber. So it's, you know what I mean?
He's such a weird player, Weidman, because he's a fascinating case. Well, we'll talk about him another time, but I do like it. I do like it a lot. By the way, probably the reason you had Petrie first is because you're like, who's their only good all around?
That's
Jeff Petrie.
Yeah. He was the first guy who came to my mind.
Yeah.
And then with the Leafs, it gets a little, not really more complicated. There's just some asterisks. So I'll start from the back. Campbell and Mrazek, obviously, like whoever is the better goalie, I guess will start in the playoffs. Please don't do the tandem in the middle of the playoffs. I don't like it. And then you have Riley Brody. Obviously, it's worked in the past. It's a good combination. Hopefully, Riley picks his game up. Muzzin and Hall, again, worked in the past. Got to keep going with it. And then I have Sandin and Dermott, and I don't necessarily think they're actually going to go out and sign anybody else. I think they're actually okay. I've said this like the last 3 years, but I honestly believe it this time is that they're actually going to try Dermott on the right side. I don't think it should be next to Sandin, but I don't see another option.
Mm-hmm. It's been the biggest story with Dermott for like 5 years now.
Yeah, it has been, and it's upsetting.
Yeah,
because like he's a good player. That's not the issue. It's just spot for him. And my extra, I kind of just picked a guy who the Leafs had, and I just picked Carl Dahlstrom. who they just signed in free agency. And I don't know if he's actually going to play, because I suspect that Timothy Liljegren will get in first when injuries occur, but I expect him to play the most of the time, in the AHL, because you want him playing minutes. So it just doesn't make sense to me to keep him sitting in the press box, considering that the Marlies also play in Toronto in the same training facility. So it's just, there's not that separation that you'd expect. Forward wise, I currently have Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, Ritchie, Kampf, Kasha, and then Mikheyev, Spezza, Simmons. And extra, I have Engvall and Gusev. I expect I could see the Leafs signing both Gusev and Ho-Sang out of training camp, which will leave them with one extra roster spot. And unfortunately, Josh Ho-Sang might be in the minors.
Poor guy.
But I can honestly see him getting a chance with this team, because if you look, I have asterisks next to half of the guys on the left side. And I think those guys are interchangeable. And it's just whoever clicks best during training camp. It's like Mikheyev 20 games in could be on the first line because he might actually work with Matthews and Marner. I just put Bunting there because everyone says he's going to be there. Kerfoot is the only winger I really think is going to stay in that spot.
Oh, and he proved it again in the playoffs. Bunting, by the way, like what I actually watched of the guy, I think people are going to forget about Hyman really quickly. Like Bunting is good, and he can score from some distance out too. He's got a decent shot. Like, good player.
I hope so.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. David Kampf, by the way, I'm fascinated to see what he's going to be like. I really am. He was in Chicago before.
Yeah,
he's like defensive center.
Weird.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's the guy on the third line all year, because apparently he's supposed to be really good defensively.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've heard the Leafs really want to do is create a shutdown type third line. And David Kampf is the center you use to get that. Like they tried that with Kadri, right? That was it under Babcock. It was different, but it was still that third line was your shutdown line. And then that's when you saw Kadri's production drop off.
Yeah. And hey, maybe it would have worked a little longer if he didn't get himself traded.
Yep.
But
we still love him though. We will always love him.
Hey, defensive first-minded centers, they work.
They do.
It works.
Rob Niedermeyer.
Yeah, sure. I
I
didn't even know he was a defensive centerman. I just knew he was Buddy's brother.
Yeah. He's the reason the Ducks won the cup, because Scott Niedermeyer is like, I want to play with my brother.
I mean, Chris Pronger was pretty good. Yeah. And the young Corey Perry. Right. That's a hilarious team, by the way. How good it was.
Yeah, looking back on like how everything kind of worked out.
I was rereading Brian Burke's book. This was lending it to my grandfather over the weekend, or I gave it to him when we were just there. So really interesting. Like the stuff he talks about with Lamorello was hilarious. But yeah, Dan, you want to go ahead and
yes. I'm just gonna say it because I don't really have a nice thing to really share. I just wrote notes.
Okay.
How dare you not take the time to put it into an Excel sheet color coded?
My apologies. I will next time, though.
Mr. Works full time. How dare you?
That the listeners won't see, but the viewers will.
The alumni of Ryerson going to his alumni reunions after 2 months.
I know. I was recalling, some of the times I had at Ryerson, my last year there, and it's weird. Looking back, it feels like a lifetime ago I was a student.
I'm surprised that as an alumni, you're not charging us between $50 and $100 to appear on the show.
You got to do this after you give the convocation speech, I think. Have to get some credibility built up.
Oh, yeah. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah, who do you go? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Leafs first. My first line is Nick Ritchie, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner. There's no bias there. I just want to see how it's going to work out if you get another big guy who – people say you have to have a bit of faith in his skating and what he can do. He could get into the dirty spots. So I'd like to see that, because I really do feel like the Leafs have so much skill right now that I don't know where to put it all the time. This one's a bit of a toss-up for the second line because I love Mike Bunting and I think that he's just going to keep getting better. But I have Nick Robertson there with Tavares and Nylander. The reason I did it was I can't see Robertson in a checking role, and I want him to play with Tavares because I want that young player emerging with the veteran leadership type of center guy, and then Nylander's there as the expected goal scoring guy that I know is going to have a good season again. I think he's going to be great. He's going to be consistent. What he showed in the playoffs, it's going to come into the next season. For my third line, I tried to make a shutdown line of guys that can also score at the same time type of line.
Okay.
So Mike Bunting, Alex Kerfoot, and Andre Kasha. I wanted to put David Kempf there, but I still feel like the Leafs could bring out a solid top 9 where they rely on guys who could really score. Kasha, that was a bit of a toss-up because I don't really know how he's going to play. This guy's been injured for like 2 seasons. Yeah. So what I kind of feel right now is he'll start on the third line, and if things go well, then they'll keep him there. But if they still want just that energy type of line where hopefully his skating has also healed, that you could put him there on the fourth line to be part of that, like a Tyler Ennis type of guy. Mm-hmm. For my fourth line, well, actually, I have 2 fourth lines. Sorry.
Of course you do. Of course. It just fits the profile.
So if you really want to go with that, still that energy of guys that they skate pretty well and they work hard. I have Jason Spezza on the left side, David Kemp as the center, and Pierre Engvall as the winger. So that's the one you want to give if you want a bit of scoring and just more speed. So my second fourth line is Curtis Gabriel, Adam Brooks, and Wayne Simmons. So it's a bit on the heavier side of things other than Brooks, but I think he really kind of centers the 2 big guys who can fight. So it really depends on like what type of matchup you want to go against and how you're going to utilize that. Mm-hmm. I don't really have to go much into the defense because it's exactly the same that all of us chose for the defense because I have really no other options going. Like you've mentioned Timothy Liljegren, and I don't see him making the team like right away.
Yeah.
Goalies, I have Ian Scott. No, I don't. It's the same goalies.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
For the Habs,
just waves Campbell.
Yeah. It always happens in NHL 21. Like they didn't even prove his rating.
Well, they don't put effort into like the wired. Well, I mean, whole other discussion. Can't wait to review NHL 21, 22 when it comes out. X Factor.
David Riddick was like what, an 82 still?
Yeah.
But anyways, on the Habs, my first line right now is, and again, wishing him the best, and I hope he has a bounce back season. And I know we're going to talk about that after his interview. But Jonathan Drouin, Nick Suzuki, and Josh Anderson on the first line. I like that one. A good combination of speed with size. So it's the same thing I was trying to do with the Leafs, is that you have these guys who could play a 2-way game, who know how to skate, and you have like that big body guy like Josh Anderson who has that shot as well. Second line, not really a surprise there. I actually wanted to separate Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki because I like to have 2 young guys not playing together for now. So it's Toffoli, Christian Dvorak, and Cole Caulfield for that second line. I think that one's pretty balanced as well. Same thing I want to do with the third line is also what I like about the Habs is they have so many great options for a top 9 that you could have 3 scoring lines. So it's going to be Mike Hoffman, Ryan Poehling, and Brendan Gallagher. For the fourth line, I wanted to keep it defensively responsible as well, but also still have a guy that can skate pretty well. So it's going to be Arturi Lehkonen, Matthew Perreault, and Yoel Armia.
Nice.
For defense, I actually have Alex Romanov on the first pairing with Jeff Petrie. So I wanted to, again, it's like the Nick Robertson, John Tavares kind of thing. Like if you want the young guy to grow, you have to give him a chance at least the first few times to get the big minutes and play with a solid veteran, especially with Shea Weber not being there. For the second pairing, you can't really go anywhere else with this. It's going to be Joel Edmondson and David Savard. And then the other pairing is going to be Ben Sherratt. And I actually have Brett Kulak here instead of Chris Weidman. It's the same argument that Alex had. I don't know Chris Weidman, other than the taxi incident.
Yes.
I don't know how he's going to play. He hasn't been in the NHL for a while. So I think just for the opening night roster, I think you're going to go in with the familiar face with Brett Kulak.
Mm-hmm.
And for goalies, yeah, it's not debatable. It's Price Allen.
Yeah, decent players. Yeah, it's so just similar to what both teams did last season. It's like, okay, the Leafs, a bunch of wingers, and whoever survival of the fittest, and then Montreal, a bunch of wingers, like just a ton of them. It's hilarious.
And Cody Gulboff.
Yes, and the poor
I should have put him. Oh my gosh, I should have put him instead of Brett Kulak.
How don't you dare do that to Brett Kulak?
I thought about changing it when I saw it, and I'm like, nope, can't do it.
We didn't mention it last episode, but I'm sorry, Adam, again. It was Eric Gustafsson this week, but it was also Michael Frolik.
It was, yeah. It's anytime I see news of Mikhail Frolik, I just go, oh yeah. I forgot about you. I remember, this is the second time it's happened this year where I've seen Eric Gudbranson sign. I'm like, oh, Gustav, that's weird. Like when I think it was Montreal were interested in Eric Gudbranson, like, no, it's Eric Gustafsson. All right. And then I saw the Flames had signed Gudbranson. I thought it was Gustafsson. I'm like, well, that's funny, isn't it? He went back to Calgary. It's like, no, that was Gudbranson. And then the Islanders give Gustafsson. You're like, that is a weird fit. Like if anyone can figure out Gustafsson's defensive liabilities, like it's the Islanders. But we talked about some of the extra stuff with the Leafs, and quickly for the Habs. This I think has gone very under the radar, to be honest with you. Here's the article they released. It's on NHL.com. Update on Group CH's Respect and Consent Action Plan. So what this basically is for those who haven't seen it, and I really, really, really suggest doing it, is what the Habs should have had prepared at the draft. It's this great action plan, both for inside and out of the organization. Their plan to make, to raise awareness for consent. There's some stuff in here about wanting to bring women into the to the hockey ops side of the thing. It's really great, and there are some great names on here. What I find really, really interesting about it, though, is the only notable member of the current thing of hockey ops I can see on here. A lot of it seems to be sort of the office side of it. Is Rob Ramage, who is their director of player personnel. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I saw the French, and I want to make sure that I'm our director of player development. Sorry, my French is kind of meh. Again, it's cool to see this. Better late than never, but you just can't help but think, guys, why did you not have this sooner? Because you could have saved so much trouble for yourselves.
I think that's why it went under the radar a little bit. Not that I thought it went under the radar per se. I just thought a lot of the conversation coming out of what they did was about the fact that it's been 2 months since the draft. That's what I think. That's what I think. To me, it sounded like the conversation was surrounded by, rather than the fact that they did it. That's what a lot of the conversation was to me.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
It's like navigating in a way that, you know what I mean? It is the common NHL thing where you don't really want to address it, but you have to address it. But then when you do, it's so gradual with everything that it doesn't really address that much at all.
It's just, you know what, guys, like lads, just the Habs are like almost now like the royal family of clean up their own mess. And it's just like, you should, instead of being the ones you're always a step behind, and then you take your 2 steps forward, you do it, because it's still being inclusive in hockey, and especially having women in the sport, like next to no teams have it. Like the Habs are only now introducing this. Haley Wickenheiser was only hired by the Leafs in the past year, I think it's been. Cami Granato in Seattle. And besides that, I can't really think of many other females in the sport in significant hockey ops roles.
There's a couple in Seattle.
Yeah,
couple of Chicago as well.
There's
yeah.
Granado. Oh man, her name is slipping me.
The girl who was the woman who was part of Minnesota, I think.
Alex Mandrycki. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, her.
and Minnesota just completely ignored her, and that was the Paul Fetton stuff. But you think if you're the Habs, it's like again, you need to be leaders in this, and even the Chicago stuff, like that's been I think a newer develop. Like that was that this year? Like they brought in like Kendall Coyne Schofield, I think, to be part of player development. I'm thinking off the top of my head,
either 2020 or 2021.
Co-director of like player development.
Yeah. I remember that they had made like a couple of hires. At least they had done that before the Aldrich stuff got out, because if they did it now, it would be a clear PR thing. And boy, do Chicago need to start figuring that out. And it's not even just Chicago that need to figure it out, but this has to do with Chicago. The U.S. Paralympic and Olympic Committee are not looking great either. And this isn't just to do with Stan Bowman. For anyone who doesn't know, it's impossible for you not to. There is the Larry Nassar stuff, who is the Olympic coach that, So anyway, I saw Adam Wilde say this really funny thing this is on brand for the Olympic Committee in the States. So, and this is from Rick Westhead of TSN. Continues to have an amazing year. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, the USOPC, has rejected an America think tank's request to suspend Stan Bowman from his position as GM of the U.S. Olympic men's hockey team while he faces allegations that he helped cover up the sexual abuse of two Chicago Blackhawk players. And basically, a spokesperson for the USOPC basically turned to, well, it's not our job. It's the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. But what's bad about this whole thing is in this article, it's not even confirmed whether Safe Sport, have done an investigation or even opened one at this point. In fact, when the spokesperson was asked about it, they were said, well, you're going to have to reach out to the center. And I as I looked yesterday, I can't see anything from the U.S. Center for Safe Sport confirming if there is an investigation into the Bowman stuff. Now, Simone Biles was very recently has made headlines calling out about how, the Nassar stuff was handled. So not again, you don't understand why you can't at least, and in the way that the spokesperson for the U.S. side to put it was, it's not our job. That instead it should be like, again, it's the safe sports stuff to sort of say they need to cover this. It's not our job. We're just worrying about the Olympics and running it.
So
it goes back to that thing of like, how can you trust a Chicago internal investigation? Because it is being funded by the people who are being investigated. And I still cannot understand why you can at least, if you don't want to take him off the board, why you cannot just get him to temporarily stand down why the investigation that the league have going on is concluded.
Isn't that what the think tank asked? Because when I read the headlines or when I read the articles about the think tank, my understanding was they weren't asking for him to be fired. They were asking him to be suspended until the investigation was done.
Yeah, that's that.
I don't
exactly.
Right. So like, I don't know why we're passing blame, like not like why they're passing blame from one part of the Olympic Committee to another part. Like just, I think I said this a couple episodes ago, where it's like, it's such normal procedure that if there is an investigation being made against someone, a high official in a company, that they tend to step away from their position until that investigation is done. And it's just not the case here. And it's like, okay, so why isn't it the case here? Like no one has given me or us a proper explanation as to why he hasn't taken a step back.
You know what's really funny? Now, obviously, what Evander Kane is being accused of doing is nowhere near covering up sexual abuse or being accused of such, I should say. But if you notice, Evander Kane right now has not completely separated himself from the Hockey University Alliance, but he is taking a step away from his duties there. Yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard. And both on the Blackhawks and again on USA Hockey. It's
like they're not taking it seriously. Like it's like the investigation, like it is something that we will deal with and will be dealt with, but it's something where it's like, okay, like, you know, for the respect of how, like, the severity of everything, like, yes, that moment should step away for a bit, but he's still staying in the spotlight. And that's just, again, it's just another thing where it's like, what's going on with the Blackhawks?
We're dealing with it, but we're also trying to get the case thrown out because it was beyond statutes of limitation.
And then they pulled the stun at the draft. Like, what? I'm curious. Like, we're not all great fans of Gary Bettman, but like to see 30 and 31 or 31 and 32, sorry, to turn out the way it did at the first round of the draft. It like, why?
His face was Bettman was not happy.
He's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it was 30 and 31, remember, because Arizona got.
Oh yeah. Technically it was 33. It's beyond me why what the difference here is.
Again, people go check out the article from our guy Rick Westhead. There's also some stuff about the charity who requested the suspension, stuff with that, and like and to do with some stuff going to like some U.S. governors and that, like some laws that can actually go into like stripping down the U.S. Like it's really, really interesting. So go check that out. Rick Westhead, great guy. Amazing stuff. A hiring in the hockey world that I think overall we're big fans of here on the show. Mike Futa has finally been hired. He's not a GM, but he is the senior consultant to the GM in Carolina under Don Waddell. Now, here's something I found really fascinating when I was rereading Brian Burke's book. He talks about how when he was working under, I forget, who was it? Pat Quinn? I think is who he worked under when he
Vancouver?
was first as AGM or whatever in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And how he got interviewed as he ended up being a finalist for the job in Philly, right? But ultimately they went a different direction. And how he saw it was a good thing that you were a finalist because you were in a certain bit of regard. But he was worried about what was going to happen when he ended up getting the job in Hartford and if he didn't take it, because he said if you end up being a finalist a bunch of times, but you don't get the job, you're seen as damaged goods. So I wonder if that's what's been happening with Mike Futa.
But has he ever been a final? Has he ever been a finalist? Because
I don't think he has, but he's been in the conversation a ton.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I always viewed him as. Sorry if I'm interrupting.
No.
I just viewed him as this is weird, but I know like he probably deserves to be a GM.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like a Tom Hagen.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah.
He's a great second guy, but not a first.
Like he's the expert, and he'll advise you, and you know he'll tell the general manager like when you should make this decision and when you shouldn't. But I think just the way he's been viewed is kind of like a Tom Hagen.
Did we even talk about that he doesn't like Dougie Hamilton on the show?
No, that's his own. That's the only thing I probably disagree with.
Is that actually confirmed?
So, yeah. On free agent stuff, like day on Sportsnet. Apparently, I was watching. I think I like TSN's coverage more on free agency, so I watch that normally. When we aren't freaking out about the Habs dropping off, idiots. Anyway, news right in the middle of free agent cowards. So, Futa on the Sportsnet broadcast said, "I'm not a big fan of Dougie Hamilton." Apparently, he's not a big fan. And then people were making the jokes, well, he'll fit right in Carolina.
yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
So weird. So strange.
It's an odd thing.
Yep.
The only thing I'll disagree with him on, though, I
100%.
I do enjoy listening to him talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Underrated dude, hockey mind. Anyway, where else are we here, guys? Where are we? Evander Kane. His TSN interview with Linda Cohn. I love how ESPN is here already, and they're already doing these cool interviews, by the way. And again, reminder, as I said earlier, Bill Daly did say to 32 Thoughts that they're waiting any time now for the investigation with Kane. So watching that interview, guys, I kind of came away from it thinking, okay, so Kane said he's gotten help. Cool, I'll choose to believe you. He says he's better. I'll choose to believe you. But I thought his whole attitude, I think it was like he was oddly relaxed. He seemed a little like jolly to be doing the thing, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
that's how I took it.
I found it kind of weird. Like, not weird, but it just kind of. I know that he was trained, like, you know, every professional athlete are media trained before they do something of this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it just they told him to relax, but yeah, I don't know. It was odd to me that
you know what they don't teach you in media training, to post all these pictures of you at fancy restaurants when you filed for bankruptcy earlier in the year and you're smiling and kind of purposely antagonizing fans, which is what he's been doing. So, you know, I think there's an air of trolling to, and I hate using that word. It feels so 2014 to say, but that's just how I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole interview. Like, not the job the interviewer did, but like as in Evander Kane.
The answers. Yeah, we didn't like the responses.
So for me, like, I don't know if this is a fair assessment, but I didn't take as much from that interview as I expected to. Because a lot of what Adam said, like, it's just like the pictures, the general attitude. I don't know. Like, I didn't feel like I got anything from it because, okay, so the claims about the hockey, let's say they do fall through in terms of betting on hockey games, right? But there's still a dressing room issue.
Yeah, and he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't touch it.
Like,
what did he say? I'm an easy target, or something like that.
I mean, it seems like you make yourself an easy target. No offense, like it just, maybe it's the way the it's coming out, but it's not painting anyone in a nice picture. It really isn't.
It was reported they tried to trade you, so there's clearly some credence to it. Like that is a fact. It was reported that the Sharks tried to trade him earlier in the offseason. So
yeah,
and the Thomas Hertl stuff, and Hertl apparently on media day. I haven't heard the interview yet because I think 32 Thoughts did. I don't think they've, or if it's there and I haven't listened to it yet, like it's saved on podcasts. It's not yet. Apparently, he's just avoided the question at all. And Thomas Hertl is arguably the best player on the Sharks and most important player.
To me, I would say I can't make a full call of it until I see how the start of the season goes. Not in terms of on the ice, but how the players speak, their body language on the bench, their body language during interviews. Because, like, if you watch it, and I've kind of picked up on some of the stuff that some players do in terms of, like, when they don't want to answer a question they don't really want to answer, their body language will completely change, or how they speak will completely change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious to see how the start of the season goes.
Mm-hmm. The Sharks. You know what's really good, by the way? I don't know about
Sharks.
No, absolutely not. I don't know about the Leafs, but Montreal have their Californian road trip like in the first month of the season. It's so great to get it out the way.
Oh, lucky.
I didn't see any 11 p.m. starts, thankfully, so that'll be nice. I'm never gonna get over that happened. Thank God they won that game. Otherwise, I was going to be a bitter person. Okay. Beside that, I wanted to surprise you guys with something. So, have either of you read Brian Burke's book?
Not yet. It's sitting on my shelf waiting to be read.
Future me will still buy it.
So, I'm going to quickly share my screen here.
Is it a spoiler?
The Leafs,
you know what?
Sorry, the Leafs do play their road trip in November.
How nice is that?
Late November.
And we're not going with them.
We could.
I wish.
We could. If you
I
want.
wish.
Oh, I know the border's not open.
But we're all
No?
vaccinated.
That's
I think
a
we
shame.
can go.
Yeah. Okay. So, got it up. So, there is a chapter in Brian Burke's book where he basically lays out his own description and skills that he wants for every single part of his lineup.
Excellent
And
picture.
I found this fascinating, honestly. So, and it's so Brian Burke, and like he references the classic like 70s ish like Habs and Islanders. So you know there's going to be a lot of grit. In fact, the 13th forward is toughness and can fight in any weight class. His third pair of defensemen on the left is a third fighter. But you know, I think what's really interesting I find about this is I think fans a lot of the time are just kind of like, and I think we're guilty of this. Okay, what do I want on the defensive pairing? I want an offensive guy and a stay-at-home guy. Right. Well, you like what I think if you're a very casual hockey fan, I think this is really cool to look at because maybe it's not as much as the grittiness, but like I just like the way how he sort of describes, okay, I want a defensive move the puck, lug it out of trouble, top end foot speed, high hockey IQ. And like this is going to sound really silly, but the way he describes a third pairing defenseman is sort of saying hard minutes against a bottom six forward. Because when I kind of realize is even if you're a third pairing defenseman, I think about it like this. If you're a young guy like Alexander Romanov and you're going up against a bottom six level player, certain teams, there were some good players there. Yeah. Not to mention there are also rookies that are often there. So there's that sort of matchup. It just kind of gave me like I felt like I learned a good bit from this. Yeah. I don't know. It was really cool. And I like how he points out he wants his third line center to be right-handed because there is nothing in this sport I love more than right-handed centermen.
I think one thing that we forget, and I'm sure we did it today, like you said, like we're guilty of this too, is it's not always the perfect combination, right? Like it's hot. The way these guys think about hockey is on a completely different level than what most of the guys who didn't play hockey think of hockey. Like that's why having, whether it's former GMs, coaches, or players on the panel does help because if they're good at breaking it down, it really explains it. Like your fourth line, unfortunately, can't be playmaker, sniper, power forward because it's just, that's not how hockey works. Maybe that's what some teams think it's gonna turn out to be, but at the moment, that's not what it is. It is a fourth line generally is a lot more tougher, and I think obviously Brian Burke's book has that.
You know what made me laugh about this?
What?
How many times I read size.
I know. I love his description for his first line left winger. Top skill, ability to finish, size, even if not a black and blue player. I just really, really like that. It's just really funny.
I'm going through all of the teams he has had, and I'm trying to pinpoint certain lines of like what actually came to fruition for this. And I'm actually looking at the Ducks and like, this makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
Like
it's
hilarious. just not the size. Like the size is there, but like for example, like when they won the cup, their first line was Andy McDonald centering, Chris Kunitz, and Teemu Selanne. So there's right there, the center, top skill, foot speed center, and then there's the top skill guys like Chris Kunitz, and then the size for the second line was like Dustin Penner, Ryan Getzlaf, and Corey Perry.
It's hilarious, man. I wonder if part of him, like when he was writing this, he's like, let me just go back and look at that team. Because he famously has said multiple times, including in the book, that he thinks that Anaheim team could beat anyone. Something really, really interesting that I looked at his goaltenders. And how many times have we seen this with backup goalies? They have to be popular, he says. Which is like, how many times have you seen the clip or something on the bench where the backup goalie's there, he opens the door, he tells the guys, all right, good shift there, boys. Here we go, boys. Or when the starting goaltender comes over and they chat about the goal and that. I just thought that was really cool. I just we have, if you want to like have a look at this, first off, go buy Brian Burke's book. This isn't a paid advertisement. No. I wish we could have him on to talk about this. But obviously he is busy being the president of the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. Yeah. But, I just, if you want to just have a quick look at this, like check it out on our YouTube version of the show. We're talking about it here at the end of the show. And again, read Lou's books. Read Brian Burke's book. There is some stuff about Lou Lamoriello, which is hilarious. like they went to a restaurant because obviously Burke played for Lou Lamoriello when Burke played at Providence College, I think. And he tells the story of how like he brought the team to a restaurant on, I think it was a road trip. And Lou Lamoriello made the restaurant staff take him to the back so he could inspect the steaks that they had to eat. And like their pregame meal about having like certain amount of butter, and you could have like 2 pops, a milk in a pop, but you couldn't have 2 cups of milk. And it's just like the littlest thing with Lou. It is such a great stuff. He talks about drafting the Sedins. Did you know that happened? Of course he did. Again, his time in Hartford and that. It's really, really good. I couldn't recommend it more.
There are some Lou stories that are just beyond funny. Like out of the norm, you wouldn't expect. Like there's the one from the Chicklets episode with Scott Gomez. And apparently, I don't remember who the other guy was in the story, but it was Scott Gomez and someone else. And Lou called him and said, yeah, you have to go watch Bruce Springsteen. Mm-hmm. Like you had to go watch Bruce Springsteen, like for the work ethic. Like who goes to a concert and watches the guy on the stage and you have to watch it for the work ethic.
We should do that.
We should
watch Bruce Springsteen.
Not a big concert guy or anything.
No, we'll just watch his performances.
Well, that's the next episode of Bizarre Adventures. Yeah, okay, guys.
Bruce Springsteen.
So we do this podcast. We've been doing it for a long time now, like a really long time. We must be over 200 total recorded episodes by now. Mm-hmm. I think we missed celebrating the official, non-official 200 episode, by the way.
Do you want me to find out?
Yeah, like we definitely passed one of the hundreds, like total episode, not just like quote unquote hockey number ones, but like total with like, you know, parts 1 and 2 in Bizarre Adventures, right? And before we started like counting. So we've had obviously we've had a lot of our friends on, but you know, we've had people that like we had Harmon Dial on. Like that's a guy in the Athletic, right? We don't like know Laura, but you know, she's doing stuff for like Golf Canada and that, you know, like Ryerson alumni. I think Daniel, you may know her from something. I know
her. We worked together for On the Record. Was it called that On the Record newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they renamed it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But you know what I mean, right? We've had people who, you know, even if they're just our friends, you know, they give us their time. Harmon is like a legit expert, an amazing writer for The Athletic, and he has given us his time two times, I think. And we're going to trying to have him back on because the Canucks are fascinating in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Now, listen.
I have the answer whenever you're ready.
Is it love?
Oh, for the episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many episodes have we done?
So with the we have 176 of the proper episodes, and then with the live episodes, the retro review, with the Bizarre Adventure, and with that we did that one Black Lives Matter episode in the summer. That is 197 episodes.
Oh, really? We're still okay. It was more than that. Okay, so we're nearing 200 total. Anyway, So listen. Believe it or not, we have never had a conversation where a guest has said, "I'm charging you $50 to $100."
Now there are people I do expect to charge us after this episode.
Well, and Mike's never coming back on the show.
I did say it was Mike.
Yeah, we all know it though. So Dan Clark on Twitter, he's an MLB guy, so I'm obviously not a very familiar person with baseball. I've been watching the Jays though because they're fun.
They're great.
They good.
Got watched the Twins game the other day where Donaldson swapped his jersey with Guerrero Jr. That was really cool. So this is the thread for those of you who have not seen this. First off, the initial tweet, 606 likes, 25 retweets, 1,897 quote tweets. I don't know how many exact comments, but still. Quote, I have always charged $50 to $100 per podcast guest appearance, as I spent at least an hour prepping, followed by a 25-30-minute discussion. If it was us, it would have been 45 because we're bad at that. Also, I also promote the episode both pre and post recording to help grow their following. Yesterday, a guy asked me onto his podcast, and I explained my fee. He responded with, F off. I guess my question is, do people just expect bleep for free nowadays? Why should I invest 2+ hours of my time and not be reimbursed for it? His response was disgusting and highlighted to me with some podcast appearances just aren't worth the cash. I'll repeat that again. Highlighted to me to why some podcast appearances just weren't worth the cash. Aren't worth, sorry. What a rude a-hole. God, stop swearing, dude. No wonder he only has a small following. With an attitude like that, he will never grow into something successful. Jerk. First off, the guy's response, listen, we had people we tried to get on the show. We started having a dialogue. Didn't happen. We didn't tell them to F off. But come on.
Okay, so this
I have never before heard a thing of somebody charging someone else to come on. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I've never heard that. Like for me, there's a two-way. You're receiving something, but by being on the podcast, your person asking you on the podcast is receiving something in the fact that you are coming on their podcast, right? And you're giving your expertise on whatever you're talking about. This perfect example. Harmon comes on and talks about the Vancouver Canucks. The other way around, I mean, in this case, Harmon's just being really, really nice because we go overtime every single time. But by you going on a podcast, you're also reaching out to a new audience that you might not have seen you before. Like, I don't know what podcast this guy is talking about, obviously, but that's generally the interaction in my eyes, right? Like, we went on Donald's podcast, or we went on a different.
I'm still waiting for that invitation, Donald. Yeah.
Right. So like the idea to me, the idea is like, it's not, I'm just doing it to be a nice guy. But the idea, if you're looking for a business interaction, that's what it is you get something out of it while they also get something out of it, which is audience.
Exactly.
I love that answer, by the way, Alex. That was amazing, because what I kind of got from the dialogue that Adam said from that guy's tweet, or I guess, the tweet is, when he criticized the guy's following, like the podcast guy's following, I'm like, I felt that one. Because remember, we were excited when we had 16 followers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, it grows slowly, but that one kind of hurt.
Yeah, the thing of like some podcast appearances aren't worth it. Dude, come on. I saw urinating. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just like, don't be an ass about it.
Like, listen, they clearly were very rude about it, but don't act like everyone who has like been like no one. I've never had a conversation where someone's asked for money to come on. Again, we don't know exactly what the guy said to like this MLB podcast special guest guy said to that guy either. We're missing a side of the story very importantly here. But that rubs me such the wrong way. It's just like, I saw Urinating Tree talk about like, everyone's been at that point. This is where, we're at to a point. Daniel, again, just graduated, but still, like, we're in university. Like we do this first and foremost. Like, listen, I like doing the podcast with you guys. We're not like the Steve Dangle podcast.
No,
listen,
not yet.
Like, listen. Like, Harmon Dial is not changing his life coming on the show. It's such a great thing that he does when he comes on. Same with all of our friends who take time out of their schedule.
Right.
Like, do you honestly think, like, let's think about this. Does the hockey guy charge Steve Dangle $1,000 to come and head on to the show? No. It's just it's like in the world of, and this is going to sound hilarious. Like, we don't work in radio. Like, we're a bunch of friends doing a hockey podcast.
Yeah.
But like, it feels like a common courtesy thing in the way of radio. You know what I mean? It's wrong. It's wrong. It's just, that's all I can say. It's wrong. It's just the guy's whole thing of it and the way he came across was just a bit of a joke.
It's the publicity. It's the publicity about it that got me, because it's like, if you want to be like, yeah, this is what I charge and this is what I believe is normal, and you say it in a polite way. Like, to me, some of the things he said, like the thing about some podcast appearances just aren't worth the cash. It's like,
Dude,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Like, I personally, I wouldn't say that out loud in a forum where billions of people will see you. If you want to have that thought outside of that, it's just putting that out there. That's the thing.
You know, I think about it too, going back to the thing of if you are a bigger show. Like, I didn't know who Rachel Dory was before she went on Steve Dangle. Now she's one of my favorite people in like hockey media or sport media, period. And again, I don't want to start bashing this guy, but I've never heard of you.
I think it's this thing. What I kind of feel is that what we've been learning with journalism, and especially when we've been able to do our own things like this and, actually tap into the field, is that sense of camaraderie that you kind of have between the people who are established, the people who are getting there, and the people who are still students, right? Because I still consider myself a student, even though I just graduated, but I'm still at that level. And I guess to hear things like that, where it's just not worth it, even though we don't know this guy who's doing the podcast kind of thing, but we know what it meant to kind of build something out of nothing and really put yourself out there in terms of the content you want to have. And to kind of see it like this, where just when we mention, and we even say this too on Twitter, when journalists who have been laid off, when media places have been downsizing, that it's just like, that's the reality of things. That's just the business part, but there's always that other side of it that we've learned about through the community and through what we've seen in school and through the people that we've talked about. And then this right here is just another thing where it just kind of validates, well, you're only on the side of the business part then.
Mm-hmm. And again, going back to like the camaraderie thing, like, listen, like, I'm thinking of just people in our program who know, like who've done like podcasts and stuff. And I think, and even outside of that, the Sabres podcast you two went on when I had my jaw surgery done. The snowman stuff that Alex did. Again, Donald and Trevor stuff. Even if we don't know these people, like, hell, say whatever you want. The Bench girls are doing their thing. Alex Baumgartner, even if it's not a big sports thing, even though I know he does like F1 stuff and that, he's doing Jaeger Bob, which, even if it's not like this big sports thing, it's something he's passionate about, and it's about the anime and all that. It's fun stuff. Mike and Roundtable and all that, right? It's, again, it's just like this thing of like, listen, it's a community thing.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. Like, this idea that it's me against everyone else doesn't necessarily have to be the case anymore, just because all these different platforms exist. Like, it's not 100, like, it's not 1 million people fighting over the 10 radio jobs you can have in Toronto, sports radio jobs you can have in Toronto. Like, there's guys who are purely big based on podcasts. Like, this is a thing that happens. Now, it doesn't happen to everyone, right? Like, that, I don't want to say that, but it can happen. And just being positive about the work that other people do can purely go a long way.
By the way, you're gonna have this big thing on Twitter. Like, listen, I mean, like, let's be honest here. We clean up our language on it. Well, Daniel, I don't think I've ever heard swear once in my life, but like, like, I don't see Steve Dangle effing and blinding about, you being the only guy to ever charge someone to go on a podcast on Twitter. I kind of like, I can't take you as seriously, my friend.
Have we ever seen Steve Dangle really go off? Like, I think I've seen it once.
I think the only time I've heard him like go and swear is in like his really, really old LFRs or a story he's told. But like when he on his Twitter or even like his LFRs or naturally anything for Sportsnet, he's very professional about it all.
Like, I think that's
how you build a brand.
I think the one time he really went off, like I've never seen it before, is that 3-week period where everyone on Twitter just went after him.
Yeah. Oh,
Like that was a different going off. That's what I meant.
That was like, hey there, I've been committed to this team. Like since YouTube was like a thing.
Yeah.
I did one thing and like Sick Kids charity for a Habs jersey, and everyone thought I was a traitor and took contact. Like the one like pure Leafs Twitter guy, and they all turned on him.
The thing is, that's what they teach you too in J school as well, right? Like you have to defend. You know how to defend yourself.
Wait, what? Say that. Start saying it again.
It's another thing. I remember Shanaz taught us that you have to also learn how to defend yourself. Especially remember when the comments were getting. Remember when you guys defended me when that guy was when I was the sports editor.
Because the guy gave you crap for doing like a Siakam thing. Because he was, what was it again? Like Pascal Siakam was getting. It was after like, it must have been like the year after.
It was during the bubble.
Left. Yeah, and he was getting a bunch of racial slurs. Was Pascal. And didn't you make like this article like defending him or something?
They're like talking about like what happened, and then the guy was saying like I'm perpetuating the situation or something where it's like, oh, like this is something to get it, like he's like to get his argument was this random Twitter guy was to get over this or to look past it and make sure it's not a thing is to not talk about it.
Yeah, why were you shining light on something negative? Idiot. What? If you ignore the negativity, sometimes like if you ignore like an idiot, that's fine. But like not talking about a serious issue, aka that whole summer after the George Floyd thing, like you're just missing the point, you dummy.
And then we all commented.
Yeah, and then me and Mike just run after the guy.
It's when the Avengers assembled.
Exactly. If we were Avengers, I think Daniel was Captain America because he's like the purest, nice guy.
The purest one.
Yeah. I think Mike is Tony Stark because he's cocky.
Fair.
He would acknowledge it. He'd like being Tony Stark. He would. I don't know, Alex. Who are we?
Oh, that's a great question that I don't have the answer to.
There were only like two cool like of those like the key Avengers. Like Thor's fine, but like
let me have the hair, Adam.
I'm not going to claim to be. No, I can't. I'm not Thor. I am not Chris Hemsworth. I wish I looked half as good as he did. But oh yeah, I have my hair tied back.
See, I think Mike might be Thor, to be honest.
Don't give him that. No, but he's Endgame Thor.
Yes. There we go.
Is he playing Fortnite?
He's Endgame.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah, I guess in the next episode we'll talk about which Avengers you guys are.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll confirm
some time. Yeah, we'll let it marinate.
I have Hawkeye's hair. You know.
Good work.
Okay, but I don't know. I don't want to be Hawkeye. He sucks.
Okay.
No one likes Hawkeye.
He's very neutral.
Yeah. Didn't they like SportsCenter TSN put this post of like these hockey players are going to be like these Avengers, and they made Austin Matthews Hawkeye. It's like, what are you doing? No one cares about Hawkeye.
I don't know. Yeah, that wasn't fantastic.
That was great.
That wasn't fantastic.
Remember when the Habs did that? And, like they said, PK would be Tony Stark because of like how like flashy he is. I'm like, that could work.
And his controversy.
Yeah. Well, no, he is controversial, but it's just people just for the wrong reasons. It's like, hey, like is there like here's what people don't like about PK Subban is, and it's so sad that he is a black hockey player who has lots of personality. That's why people don't like him, and it's sickening. Because he's like if this game had learned to market players like 10 years ago or something, like could you imagine not 10 years ago, like 2011? Yeah, that's like 10 years ago. Like he could have been for a period the face of the league. And I will believe that till the day I die. But they completely missed out on it. And like thankfully they're starting to do this more with like Matthews and that. Or at least EA are. It'd be nice if the league itself cared about stars, but
I like even you guys listen to the 32 Thoughts the one with Jack Hughes.
Not yet. It is up next for me to listen.
So I like the one thing I got from that, like I have a feeling Jack Hughes is gonna be one of these guys that just loves to talk. Like I was genuinely impressed by that interview.
I have seen this video that Mike was going on about, and I think he's called out the Canucks for being bad.
Yeah.
And he was losing it when his brother got drafted by the Devils. That's a guy who's like, let's
go.
Like, he's 20 years old, and I could genuinely see him being on TV once he retires.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, if I am Hughes, I don't know the requirements he needs to get to RFA status where he can be offer sheeted, because obviously he is an RFA now, but he can't be. And then New Jersey just come in and take him. Please do that. There was nothing I would like more. Okay. Well, next episode, we might be previewing like the preseason. Honestly, we're almost there. Again, Saturday preseason is starting, which is insane. Because it's like, oh crap, we have like 4 weeks of preseason, which kind of sucks, but whatever.
Why is it so long?
I know. And you know what? Great. Next Saturday night, guys, the Leafs and Habs in the preseason. I can't wait to watch one period and turn it off because I realize the NHLers aren't going to be here for another week and a half.
Someone asked me, when does the NHL season start? I'm like, October 4th, because that's usually around the time when it starts. And then I went to go look at the calendar. I'm like, October 4th, a game against the Ottawa Senators. I'm like, that can't be right. Then I realized it's like October 13th. I'm like, come on.
Is it the Leafs and Habs on the 13th and like the 12th are the American team, like the 2-3 American?
Yeah. The Rangers and the Capitals and then someone else.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Tuesday.
Oh, gross.
How? I just noticed this. The Leafs started a back-to-back. I find that hilarious.
Oh.
How did they do that? The Islanders, their first month aren't at home. That might be arena things. The Leafs started on a back-to-back.
Oh,
don't Montreal have a ridiculous thing too early in the season?
This season isn't that bad, but I think their second and third games are back-to-backs. But remember last year they played 2 weeks, had their freaking bye week. Yes. Oh my God. And then they were screwed for the rest of the year. Yeah, the Islanders, Seattle don't have a home for the first month of the year. The Islanders are going to be just out in the air, somewhere. Arizona don't have a place to play next year.
82 away games for the Coyotes.
Exactly, yeah. The schedule is wild.
The Leafs play 4 games in 6 days, and then they have a 3-day break. It's like, you couldn't spread this out?
I swear, because they had to leave room for the All-Star game, and the draft it's for some reason is now at like a week into July. Like, how in the world did it get pushed back? Because it's normally like at the end of June. So
I bet because they pushed it 2 weeks, they pushed the season 2 weeks or a week and a half than usual, and everything else just gets messed up. And then they also have like an extra week for the All-Star break and the Olympics, or 2 weeks. And then there's just some other excuse to have a break. And then I don't know. There's just all these things.
We'll remember there's
things we will see when we cross that bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like going to the draft because it's going to be in Montreal.
We'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Alex and I will find a way.
I will.
Yeah.
I will find a way.
I can't wait to go to the draft and boo the hell out of Gary Bettman.
I'm going to stay for all 7 rounds.
Yeah, I would do that. If we're going, I'm staying for 7 rounds. Yeah.
All 7.
We should just get like the lats, like get a whole part. Like, you're telling me Baldwin doesn't want to just give Gary Bettman all hell?
Let's get a party bus.
Like, and Joe Thornton's with us.
Yeah.
And we
Florida Joe.
just relentlessly boo Bettman. We get some creative chants going and all that.
We got to bring like a camera because someone has to record all this, and
we're gonna vlog it.
We're gonna vlog the first round of the draft and the second to 7th rounds. It's gonna be like an 8-hour vlog, but
the TikTok is gonna be great.
Oh, it's gonna be fantastic.
Okay, that's everything, isn't it?
Yes. I believe so.
Okay, well, voice said, thank you as always for being a great platform for the show. We didn't swear despite Mr. $100 podcast appearance saying otherwise. I just saw a really funny tweet from it's a parody account, Gordon Bombay. I hope one day that Robertson and Caulfield drop the mitts.
That would be interesting.
Just like the two short kings, and it's just that's how the fan bases finally get all their rage out at each other for this stupid Robertson Caulfield debate that's been going on for years now. But yeah, check out TikTok, Facebook, all that stuff. If there's social media, we're on it. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we're on it. So if it's like Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, follow our own social media channels and all that. My YouTube channel, check it out. Alex's blog, check it out. Daniel's stuff for CJRU and all his past eye opener stuff and hockey writer stuff. Go check it out. That's it. We'll see you whenever we see you. And next time, hopefully the next time we see you, the election has a good turnout.
Count all the mail-in votes at the same time. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. But yeah, by the time we record, maybe we'll find out who actually won.
Maybe.
If you're a student in Ontario, by the way, I'm gonna be really curious to see why you would vote Conservative. By the way,
why?
Why
we don't endorse any parties on this show.
No.
I'm not endorsing anyone. I'm not saying vote Liberal. I'm just saying, or anything, even if I could vote as a Canadian citizen.
Oh, yeah. I always forget that.
Yeah, I need to get that sorted out. But I'm just saying, let's all remember OSAP and what happened in our second year, people.
Let's just remember the last 18 months.
Yeah, so let's just remember that. I'll say. Listen, but who am I? I can't even vote. I think that's it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. You're welcome, Daniel.